Today, we are diving into 9 dirt-cheap farmhouses in South Carolina that almost feel illegal to buy at these prices. We are talking about full houses with land for less than what some people pay for a car. Some of these are complete fixer-uppers, some are hidden gems, and a few might actually make you question what is going on in these markets. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more dirt-cheap housing deals like this. All right, let's get into it. The first home is in Holly Hill, South Carolina, and it costs $65,000. Located at 700 Peak Street, this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch-style home with 1,152 square feet, sitting on just under half an acre. Now here is where things get interesting. This house has already been completely gutted down to the studs, so what you are really buying here is not a finished home. You are buying a blank canvas. The demolition work is already done, which saves you time and money, but now it is on you to rebuild everything from the ground up. The structure is block construction with an older asbestos shingle roof, and there is a covered front porch that could actually be really nice once everything is brought back to life. Location-wise, you are about 30 minutes from Charleston, which is one of the fastest-growing and most expensive areas in the state. So this is one of those situations where the price looks insanely low because the work required is high, but the upside could be massive if done right. The second home is in Blythewood, South Carolina, and it costs $140,900. Sitting on just over 1 acre at 1322 Friendly Woods Road, this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house surrounded by mature trees, giving it a private, almost hidden feel. Now this is another full renovation project, so we are not talking about moving in next week, but the land itself is where the value starts to show. You have pear trees, blueberry bushes, and enough wooded space to create a quiet retreat or even a small homestead. It has city electric, septic, and access to city water, which removes some of the bigger headaches you usually deal with in rural properties. And you're still within driving distance of Columbia, so you get that balance of country living without being completely cut off. This is the kind of property where someone with vision could turn it into a weekend getaway, rental, or long-term investment. The third home is in Bradley, South Carolina, and it costs $215,000. Located at 5124 Callison Road, this is easily one of the most unique properties on the list. This is a 5-bedroom Victorian farmhouse built around 1904, sitting on over 5 acres. And when I say this house is original, I mean it. The old pine floors, the walls, the ceilings, some of it hasn't even been painted in over a century. There are fireplaces in nearly every room, a wide front veranda, and even a balcony overlooking the property. Outside, you have historic outbuildings, including a smokehouse, a log corn crib, and even an original hand-dug well. This is not a modern flip. This is a time capsule. The structure appears solid, but it is being sold as is, meaning you are taking on the responsibility of preserving or restoring something that is over 120 years old. The fourth home is in Chester, South Carolina, and it costs $175,000. Located at 2012 Baton Rouge Road, this is a classic 1930 farmhouse, sitting on roughly 2.5 acres. The home itself has about 1,100 square feet, with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and it still has a lot of its original character, like wood-paneled walls and vintage cabinetry. This is one of those homes that clearly needs work, but was actually lived in recently, so it is not completely falling apart. There are multiple outbuildings on the property, which could be used for storage, workshops, or even small-scale farming. The land is a mix of open space and woods, which gives you privacy, but also usable land. One important detail is that the original parcel was much larger and is being split, so what you are getting is a portion of that land, not the full 21 acres. Still, for the price, having over 2 acres with a farmhouse like this is hard to come by. The fifth home is in Lodge, South Carolina, and it costs $249,000. Located at 4233 Mount Nebo Road, this is a 1930s farmhouse, sitting on 1.6 acres with 1,734 square feet of space. It features a full wraparound wooden porch, which is basically the dream setup if you are trying to live that slow country lifestyle. The property also includes a large pole shed, additional storage buildings, and even a grain bin, which hints at its farming roots. This is one of the more functional properties on the list, where you could realistically turn it into a small working farm, or just enjoy the extra space and privacy. It runs on well water and septic, which is pretty standard for properties like this, and it is about 30 minutes from Walterboro for basic shopping and amenities. The sixth home is in Winnsboro, South Carolina, and it costs $300,000. Located at 2086 Ryan Road, this is a 1910 farmhouse sitting on 5 full acres, and this one actually leans more toward move-in ready compared to the others. The home has around 1,600 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, central air, and multiple fireplaces. Inside, you still get a lot of the historic charm like hardwood floors, beadboard walls, and ceiling details that you just do not see in newer homes. The layout is interesting with multiple exterior doors leading outside, which was common in older farmhouses. The land itself is wide open, which gives you options for gardening, adding structures, or just enjoying the space. At this price point, you are paying more, but you are also getting significantly more land and a home that does not require a full gut renovation. The seventh home is in Bethune, South Carolina, and it costs $280,000. Located at 2901 Bethune Road, this property sits on over 15 acres, which immediately puts it in a different category. The house itself is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom updated farmhouse with around 1,400 square feet. But the real story here is the land. You have tree-lined pasture, a barn with multiple bays, fenced areas for animals, and even fruit trees and bushes already in place. Some of the major updates have already been done, including a newer roof, HVAC system, and water filtration system. This is the type of property where you could actually run a small farm, keep animals, or just live completely off the grid if you wanted to. And despite how rural it feels, you are still within an hour of multiple cities like Columbia and Charlotte. The eighth home is in Walhalla, South Carolina, and it costs $495,000. Now, this is easily the most expensive property on the list, but also one of the most polished. Located at 310 Stribling Shoals Road, this is a modern farmhouse built in 2021, sitting on just over 2 acres. It has nearly 2,500 square feet with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, vaulted ceilings, a large open-concept living space, and a high-end kitchen with quartz countertops and double ovens. There is even an above-ground pool and multiple outbuildings already wired for use. This is what happens when you take the farmhouse concept and bring it into the modern era. It is not cheap compared to the others, but when you compare it to similar homes in more competitive markets, it still comes in significantly lower. The ninth and final home is in Gray Court, South Carolina, and it costs $290,000. Located at 4178 Bramlett Church Road, this property sits on nearly 8 acres and is being sold as is, cash only. That alone tells you this is not your typical purchase. The house itself has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms with a wraparound porch and a solid structure, but it needs significant work. The seller is requiring a non-refundable due diligence deposit, which is another signal that this is geared towards serious investors or experienced buyers. The upside here is the land. Nearly 8 acres in a location that is still within reach of growing areas gives this property long-term potential, whether you renovate, rebuild, or hold it as an investment. Before we wrap up, we need to talk about the obvious question, which is, how are these properties so cheap, and is this actually normal? The reality is, South Carolina, like many states in the Southeast, has 2 completely different markets. You have fast-growing cities and coastal areas where prices are rising quickly, and then you have rural counties where population growth is slower and demand is lower. Many of these homes are older, require significant repairs, and rely on well water and septic systems, which adds maintenance responsibility for the owner. On top of that, financing can be a major barrier. A lot of these properties will not qualify for traditional loans, which limits the buyer pool to cash buyers or renovation loans. And when fewer people can buy something, prices tend to stay low. But for the right person, someone willing to put in the work, think long-term, and maybe trade convenience for space and affordability, these properties can represent one of the last real opportunities to own land without taking on massive debt.